You're damn right. That's how you start a show. That is how you start a show. Welcome, everybody. We are back. New look, locked and loaded with a new sponsor, but the same old stars. Cash out with the coaches, two of the greatest coaches in the world today. I am the coach and one of the great golf coaches all over the world. Look at him. He's healthy. Yes, I'm talking about you, Travis Fulton. How are you feeling, by the way?
I feel good. Jeez. Past COVID-19, my wife and I went down. We didn't get that no symptom strain, that everybody, didn't feel a darn thing. Jeez. My wife and I were down for 10 straight days, but we're healthy now, just in time as we come back. And I'm ready to take a little bit of that cold hard cash from my good friend, Jonathan Coachman.
Oh, my goodness. I cannot wait. But I got to give you complete credit. So this is a preview show for the entire 2021. But in the last 2 months, so many people have reached out to me and says, Coach, where's Cash Out with the Coaches? Well, there's a reason we had a hiatus, because we were changing the look, and we have a brand new sponsor, a brand new platform, Sports Pub. You are the man that made this happen. Tell us all about our new company that we're partnering with. Could not be more excited.
Yeah, we're super excited here. And, Sports Pub Media, you're going to be hearing more about them here as we roll into January. Coach, we're going 40 straight weeks here with this show. And a big part of Sports Pub Media is going to be this show, Cash Out with the Coaches. Sports Pub, it's a one-of-a-kind golf betting content platform. You're going to see some high-quality golf and golf betting content distributed through written articles, videos, podcasts, and social media. So it's going to be coming at you in a lot of different ways. Experts breaking it down and giving you the best golf betting advice that you can get. So check it out, sportspub.com, social media, Sports Pub Media, at Sports Pub Media. And we're going to lead with this, Cash Out with the Coaches. We're going 40 straight weeks. This is a preview show. And it's going to be great, man. It's a really cool company. Lots of great content coming out.
I love being able to grow together, and I try to look at the positives coming out of this pandemic, and this is one of them, because this probably would not have happened without the pandemic. So we're excited. We want to be the leader in this space. We want Sports Pub to be the leader in this space. So we're going to grow together, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, this show is going to be interactive, and you at home are going to be able to play along with us on social media every single week. Now, here's what the normal competition is going to look like. We're going to make several picks, and you're going to have $100 to distribute over the course of 2 head-to-head matchups for the tournament. We're each going to make, and then you can play at home, a top 20 pick, a tournament winner, a wild card play, and you have to spend at least $5 on every single pick. So we'll have more on the competition as the weeks go by. For those of you who beat us, we'll have some type of prize for you. We're just trying to figure that out as we go. But Travis, this is a great format, and people are going to be really excited to play along with us.
Yeah, we built a nice audience last year when we were doing this show, and we put some thought to it of, okay, let's make it a little bit more strategic, and let's award those that take a little bit more risk, right? So you can spend this $100 how you want across this platform. We know people love the head-to-head matchups. It was fun, really, kicking your tail last year in the head-to-head matchups. And then, of course, the top 20s, you can put a little value there. But that winner, right? You got to pick that winner. Wait. Oh, I did. I picked the winner of the Masters last year, right? With Dustin Johnson. And then
really went out on a limb there, too.
Card pick, and then that wild card pick where you can go whatever way you want to go. So you got $100. You got to put $5 at least in each one of those. But if you want to load it up, if you want to say, hey, I'm putting $90 on Dustin Johnson to win the Masters in 2021, you can do that, and you'd be rewarded handsomely if he happens to win again.
One of my favorite lines ever is, I'm going to be your daddy. I'm going to be your daddy. So I was thinking, as we head into 2021, as I'm going to start being your daddy, I brought a little friend along, and he's going to be timing the show, because we did it 30 minutes or less. This is Darth Vader. And what is Darth, one of his favorite, most iconic lines in Return of the Jedi, when he says to Luke, I am your father. So Travis, I will translate that and transfer that and say, Travis, this year I will be your father.
You've got some catching up to do, so I've got some.
It's a clean slate.
Okay, we're going slate. Okay,
we're going clean slate.
That's right.
None of that matters. This is a brand new show.
Got it.
But this episode, we're looking at players matchups, wins, looking at players to watch, and also a big-time statement on something we believe is going to happen in 2021. So let's get started, okay, on who's going to have a better year head-to-head. And let's start, Cody, with DJ and his former best friend, former good friend, now arch rival, Brooks Koepka. For this season matchup, Travis, who do you think has a better season and why?
Well, this is an easy one for me. I was all over DJ last year. I said, look, Brooks slided him at the PGA, pissed DJ off.
It did.
And it did. And you know what? It got his attention. He came out, 4 wins, wins the Masters, FedEx. Have you won it all? Best player in the world. No, hands down, you got Dustin's attention. And I think his attention is going to stay the same as we move into 2021. You know, you look at DJ, you know you're getting the driver. You know you're getting the approach game. You know what he figured out, though? He figured out the putter. He quit switching his putter every single week, stayed with the putter, started to figure out, and he started to fill it up. And I'm telling you something, you get peak DJ and you counter it with some great putting, he is the best player in the world. No one's A game is better than Dustin Johnson, and that includes Brooks Koepka.
Isn't it crazy how a year ago, or maybe let's say 18 months ago, if we would have talked about this matchup and felt like there was such a gap between these two, we would have said that you were crazy. But there feels like a humongous gap between two players that were very similar. Brooks had won so many of those majors in a very, very short period of time. Now it feels like DJ, even in majors, because at the Masters, he was dominant. Even in majors, he feels like he is head and shoulders above everybody. And that's something we haven't felt probably since Tiger was dominating 15, 20 years ago. So for me, DJ is also my answer here. Brooks has got to get back. He's got to get healthy. He's got to prove to us that he's got his game.
You know, I think the last 2 tournaments for Brooks has boded well for him. Now, he's got to be healthy, right? His knee, he's got to get out there 100%. But you look at him, he was 5th at Houston, 7th at the Masters. And I know DJ was dominant in 1. But he showed some really good signs there in his last 2 tournaments. So I look Brooks to be healthy, rebound, play well, but he's not better than his big brother DJ.
All right, our next matchup on the board looks like this: Justin Thomas against Jon Rahm. Now JT coming off that impressive win in the father-son event. You tell me he wasn't locked and loaded, Travis, because he got to play with Tiger and Charlie. 25 under par in 2 days. His game is on point. Who do you like to have a better season?
You know, JT probably is coming off his best ball striking year of his career. You know, you look at him, I mean, he just hit the golf ball absolutely brilliantly from tee to green. No one was better. He was first strokes gained tee to green. He was first in strokes gained approach. You know, you look at JT, he's got 13 wins. He's got the 1 major championship. But I feel like at the age of 27, he's kind of on the same trajectory as DJ. You know, DJ has, he's 36. He's got 24 wins. I think that's where Justin's going. In fact, he's winning at a higher clip than DJ did up to this point. I think for Justin, it's the putter, right? It's the inconsistencies of the putter. I spoke to his new putting coach, John Graham, because that's what I do. You know, coach, we're going right to the resources here.
Sorry, I got to pick up the name you just dropped. Just a second.
Okay. And, you know, John is helping JT understand what the differences are between the great putting weeks and the really bad putting weeks. What's different? Being able to quantify the differences, just like he did when he improved his approach wedge play. So I think JT is going down the right path here to be a more consistent putter. And I think that's what he needs to be, because he's already the best ball striker in the world. So I give him a very slight edge over Jon Rahm.
I think when you're talking about Justin Thomas, I have to give it to you that his bad weeks aren't nearly as bad as other people's bad weeks. That's where he's been able to hone it in. But I like to look at motivation, and I like to look at somebody who is not happy with where they're at right now with their game in the golf rankings, having majors under their belt, and that's Jon Rahm. He's never been more motivated, Travis, than he is this year. And especially because now he's always in the conversation with a JT, with a DJ, with a Brooks, with a Rory, with a Tiger. But now he's got to start stepping up in these big time tournaments. He's won a lot. But now this year, I think he becomes the guy, and he becomes the man that says, I'm going to be the standard. So if I'm talking about these two head up, I'm going to take Jon Rahm to have a better season than Justin Thomas. Now, this next one, very interesting here. Very interesting for this head-to-head matchup. Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, better season, go.
I mean, two huge names, right?
Yes.
And both under construction right now when it comes to the full swing. My frustration with Spieth, I've been critical of him for the better part of 2 years now, right? We're going 3 years with Spieth and doing something different with his swing to get back on track. It's not working up to this point. Now, rumor has it, he's been out there. He's getting second opinions, including from Butch Harmon. This is a good move. Spieth needs to flip the switch. I don't think things are going very well for Spieth, clearly on the golf course. I think there's some things that are frustrating him off the golf course as well. We need a clean slate here for Spieth in 2021. If we can get that and he can get the driver under control, the genius is there for Spieth. Fowler's going under changes too. Major swing changes. I mean, big time swing changes. How did they work out last year? Strokes gained off the tee, 66. Strokes gained approach, 91st. It's not good enough. You know, when Fowler was actually winning a tournament here or there, he was a much better ball striker than that. I find Ricky in a weird spot right now with the changes he's trying to make with his swing. We know Spieth is struggling. He needs to get better, but the clean slate is coming for Spieth. The genius is in there. I'm hoping it's this year. I give Spieth a very slight edge over Ricky Fowler.
All right, so you like Spieth. I thought about this one long and hard, and I didn't, I don't like to look at your answers because I feel like it clouds me sometimes. Because as much as I tease you, I've got a lot of respect for your opinion. However, I have a different answer on this one. I look at how many times Spieth played this fall. He played 6 times after the Tour Championship. Think about that for a second. It used to be called the funny season, the funny money season. And now these events are very real. They're really important. And for Spieth to play 6 times after the Tour Championship tells you all you need to know about where he feels like he is. Now, he still has 2 years left on all of his exemptions. And it sounds crazy to think about pressure being on Spieth just to be able to go out and play. But we're now getting down to that time where if he doesn't start playing better, next year he's going to be playing for his tour card. He really, really is.
Yep.
So I think this continues. I don't think he's fixed it. For Ricky, I'm seeing some good rounds. I'm seeing some momentum. He won last year as well at the Waste Management. And I think we're going to come up on a year where Ricky starts to feel those vibes in Phoenix. He starts to really get the momentum going. We know he's already won the Players. So for me, in this head up, I'm going to go Ricky Fowler to have a better season, unfortunately, for Jordan Spieth. All right, our last head-to-head matchup as far as who's going to have a better season. Oh, you knew we were going to bring this one to the table. Phil Mickelson, always chirping, always chirping. He's become really a big star because of the matches with all these different athletes. Tiger, he's become a bigger star because of his son and the fact that he's a dad and showed how much he loved his kid last week, which I thought was awesome. But Travis, who has a better season?
Well, we know Phil's going to play more, right? We know Phil's probably going to play probably twice as many events as Tiger. And Tiger showed no form last year. I think his expectations are going to be down this year a little bit. Let's pray for a healthy Tiger Woods. Let's pray for about 10 tournaments, right, for him.
Is that your
out on
over-under?
tour.
Yeah,
I think around 10. That's probably a fair number. I'm hoping for 12, 13. That'd be great. But it feels probably closer to 10 for Tiger Woods. Didn't show much form last year. Now, Phil had a couple good events, right? He was 3rd at AT&T and he was 2nd at WGC. Outside of that, Phil hit it everywhere. I mean, Phil was abysmal with his ball striking. And then he goes to the Champions Tour and he wins a couple times and finds it and keeps it in play. I don't know. So Tiger turns 44 here this week. Phil's going to be 51 next year. I mean, they're both on the ladder into the career. We know that. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, let's say they both play 10, 11 times. Tiger's still the better player than Phil Mickelson. He's going to keep it in front of him. He's the smarter player. Give me Tiger over Phil this year. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and say that number 83 is going to happen this year for Tiger Woods. See ya, Sam Snead.
Well, I'm really glad that you didn't make that your wild card statement for the end of the show, because you've started to make a habit of saying, I'm going out on a limb, DJ to win the Masters, Tiger to win a tournament.
I like money.
That's true. That's very true. When I look at these two, and nobody loves Tiger more than I do. I recently was in Jupiter. I was at an event. Tiger didn't show. I don't know why he didn't show up, but I was there, and I felt the vibe around Jupiter and all the players that live there, the Rickies, the JTs. I had never been there before. I loved it. Phil is now moving down there because he wants to have more money games. He wants to have more time to practice. He just likes no state income tax.
Yeah,
I think
there
for
you go.
those reasons, he's always talked about that in California. So I think he's going to be remotivated. And I don't know why, and you pointed it out, when he goes to the Champions Tour, other than the fact that there's shorter holes, shorter courses, and he has more confidence. But he posted a video this week, Travis, where he was in his backyard. It looked like a golf course, to be honest with you. And he was tracking his ball speed and his club speed. He's motivated. He's out there. He knows he's got to get longer off the tee, but he's got to be more consistent. It's not about distance for him. But I do believe, because of lack of playing, that Phil will have a better season than Tiger Woods. So we'll keep track of these, these picks as we go. It's going to be really interesting. So our next category is going to be who has more wins in this calendar year. We're going to do 2021. So even after the Tour Championship into the fall season, and we'll recap when we come back on next year's preview show. So our first matchup, Rory McIlroy against Bryson DeChambeau. More wins in 2021.
You know, this is tough for me because Rory's my boy. I love Rory. But these two guys couldn't be at any different phases of their life. I mean, Bryson's 27, right? He can spend every waking moment on his golf career. Every waking moment, right? You'll see all these videos. He's with Chris Como, and they're in his living room hitting balls with Kyle Berkshire until midnight. And then here's Rory. He's 31. He's got a kid, right? And, you know, different phase of life, different perspective. And I just think the gains that Bryson made last year, the way he was dedicated to his body and distance, was impressive. I mean, it was very, very impressive. He dominated the U.S. Open up there in New York. Rory, gosh, you know, it just, is he going to be motivated? I'd like to think that he's going to be. I would love to see peak Rory again. And if that's the case, we're going to start seeing some wins. He had 3 wins back, I believe. He had 4 wins back in 2019. Didn't have any wins last year. So we know if Rory's motivated and he's hitting the ball like we know he can, and he's making some putts, like, okay, he's going to rattle off a couple wins. But I just feel like Bryson is just hyper focused right now. He has the time to put in. This is his time right now. It feels like Bryson going for it with his body. I'll give him the slight edge over Rory just simply because of where they are right now in their career.
Was it Tom Weiskopf that recently was very critical of your boy, Rory McIlroy, and basically talked about the fact that Rory wasn't motivated anymore to perform at a high level? And when you see the headlines, you're like, wait a second. Then you read the interview and you're like, he's spot on. Yeah. He is absolutely spot on. And it's not being critical of Rory, but when you say out loud that $10 million, this is back when it was $10 million to win the FedEx Cup, $10 million doesn't mean that much to you. We don't talk about money hardly ever when it comes to athletes. And I think we need to, because when you make so much money off the course, and he moved his company to Dubai, well, you have to make a public statement. And we realize his company is worth almost $500 million. That's what Rory's dealing with.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to win, and I think it proves how motivated Tiger was for all those years, because Tiger's never made more than 10% of his earnings on the course. Think about that.
Yeah.
And so for Rory, the motivation isn't there. Bryson wants to prove to everybody that what he's doing is the right way to do it.
That's right.
So when you're so stubborn and you want to do it so badly, that to me is the side of the fence I want to lean on. So I agree with you. I'm going Bryson DeChambeau. I would be shocked if he doesn't win at least 3 times in 2021.
Yeah, he certainly, I mean, we know he's the most dominant off the tee, but he's a great putter. Strokes gain, putting, he was 10th. I mean, so he's got both sides of it. His approach game gets a little iffy from time to time, but I mean, look, I think Bright, like you said, I mean, it's about the focus right now and the time dedicated to the craft, and Bryson's certainly doing it.
I do kind of feel, by the way, you mentioned Kyle Berkshire. For those fans at home are like, who's Kyle Berkshire? He's the reigning, defending, undisputed world heavyweight long drive champion. Yeah. And unfortunately, the Golf Channel just gave the long drive away. And so we're committed here at Cash Out with the Coaches to getting long drive back to where it needs to be, because a guy like Kyle Berkshire needs to be somebody that people know, because the dude is legit. And he can hit it a mile. So remember that name. Okay, our next matchup. Who's going to have more wins in 2021? Xander or Webb? Travis, go.
It's a tough one here, because Webb, to me, is probably the best yard for yard player. I mean, this guy hits it like 295, 296 off the tee, and he's just incredibly consistent and such an incredibly good player, top shelf player. But it's time for Xander to take the next step. I mean, it's time for Xander Schauffele now to take the next step on the PGA Tour. He's 27. He's got 4 wins. A lot of his peers think he is the best player on tour, right? So he's moving into that moment now of his career where it's all there. You look at him statistically, Jonathan. I'm going to read this off to you, all right? Strokes gained off the tee last year, 8th. Approach, 37. Around the green, 37. Putting, 33rd. Total, 3rd. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, this guy's got 0 weaknesses. I mean, they're all strengths, and he didn't have any wins. And I know it's hard to win on the PGA Tour. I get that. It's hard. But there's got to be the next gear now for Xander. This is his time. His game is there. And it's time for him to move it on ahead here. Let's get 2 wins this year. Let's get a major championship, maybe at the Masters. Certainly love him there. And let's be better than Webb Simpson, because if he's better than Webb Simpson, let's face it, he's going to have a couple wins here, I think, in 2021.
I just got a text from Webb Simpson, and all it said was, that is so disrespectful. What Travis did. Now,
sorry,
you
Webb.
could not have a bigger difference in bodies between Brooks Koepka and Xander Schauffele. But the category that they both are now in are being called big game hunters. And Xander, unfortunately, he's in that category without having the big game, meaning the majors, and finishing it off, and finishing it when he's in contention, because so many players know how good he is on really tough golf courses and playing on Saturdays and Sundays close to par when everybody else is going south. But you're right. Right now, Xander is not finishing. Right now, Xander is not doing what he needs to do. I don't think he gets to 2 this year. I think he wins. But Webb has shown the last 2 years that his game is where it needs to be. That every single week, week in and week out, he is there. He is there. And for the former U.S. Open champion, I think this is going to be a bust-out year for him. I think he's going to have at least 2 wins to Xander's 1. So I say Webb wins this head-to-head, more wins in 2021.
All right.
Now our last one is really, really cool here. We had to bring the young guns in.
Yeah.
Colin Morikawa, your PGA champion. Victor Hovland, who's having a great fall, went overseas, played well there, and Matthew Wolff, who also had a great 2020. Of these 3, who has the most wins in 2021?
It's like asking a parent, which of your 3 sons do you love more, right? I mean,
yes.
I mean, all 3 of these guys are just so impressive. We talked a lot last year. I think one of the most impressive things for me last year was the consistency of Matthew Wolff. He exceeded my expectations the way that he played. We knew he had the power game. The approach game can get a little iffy here and there, but man, he was polished on the greens right there in the big tournaments, the major championships, couple top 4s. I mean, it was impressive to me. Morikawa was really good early, but struggled late. He wins the PGA, of course, and he won Workday on 2 great golf courses, and then just kind of went away. The putter became a major issue. And then, of course, Hovland, you mentioned, has a good fall. So, I mean, all these guys right there, they have signs. I think Victor, for me, as I look ahead to next year, I just get a little bit hesitant watching Morikawa putt sometimes. That kind of holds me back. I don't think I give Wolff the full respect always. Sometimes, like his due diligence and just how solid of a player he is, and that's on me. And then and then here's Victor, right, who struggles around the greens a little bit from time to time, but it's just so damn good tee to green. I mean, he is such a polished ball striker, and I think he's getting a little bit longer too. I wouldn't be surprised to see another plus 10 yards this year from Victor off the tee. I think he's settling in with the short game and some of the work he's doing with Josh Gregory and the putter. So I'm going to give the very slight edge to Victor Hovland.
I can tell this is a struggle for you. This
is because they are all really impressive young players.
Now, if we did a category, Travis, that which name do we think will show up the most in our picks for the show? I think Victor Hovland would have to be there. He is quickly becoming a guy that when you look at the PGA Tour leaderboard and you've got your head-to-head matchups or your tournament matchups or all the different ways we're going to bet this year, he's always a guy that you look at and say, I'll take him against whoever. I'll take him for a top 20. I'll take him for a top 10. That's why Matthew Wolff is kind of like Bryson in a way that he can go 25 under and get on a streak, or like he did at the end of this year when I picked him, I think, in the Masters, and he started out with a minus 468 and then absolutely blew up over the next three.
Miscut.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much iffy with Matthew Wolff, but it doesn't mean I don't think he can win, because he can. But I think Morikawa is spending this time off, doing exactly what you just talked about, tweaking the putting. You can't be missing 3 and 4 footers as much as he does. I think he got the never missing a cut monkey off his back. And so now he can just focus on being a PGA Tour player. And so for that reason, I think Morikawa of these three will have the most wins in 2021. Once again, you're watching Cash Out with the Coaches. Travis Fulton, Jonathan Coachman, sponsored by Sports Pub. We're going to be here 40 straight weeks for the PGA Tour season. Baby. This is the place for all of your golf betting content. All right, I want to look at one player, Travis, in the official world golf rankings between 51 and 100 that you can tell the good folks at home, keep an eye on this guy. Get him in your bets. Get him in your fantasy. He's a guy that's going to make a mark in 2021. Who do you got?
Well, I had a conversation with this young man right after he finished. Sixth at the U.S. Open, and his name is Will Zalatores. He's 165 pounds. He's 6'2".
Is he 24 years of age? Is he your long lost son, by the way? Because nobody loves Will Zalatores more than you do.
He was the 2014 U.S. Junior champ, went to Wake Forest, and he had 10 top 10s, on the Korn Ferry Tour. I was pumping Will Zalatores out there as we were going into the U.S. Open. Yes. And then from then on, I'm like, this dude can play. Yes. He can go. And you know what? He gets into the next week after the U.S. Open at the Corrales, Punta Cana, and he was the favorite. He was the favorite to win in his first PGA Tour event after the U.S. Open. He finishes 8th. He goes 5th at the Shriners, 16th at the Bermuda. He's going to play on a special temporary membership, which means he's going to get quite a few starts. You're going to see a lot of Will Zalatores. He's got the modern game, man. I mean, he's long. He's a crisp iron player. He can get a little clunky with the putter sometimes. He putts exactly like Webb Simpson. He modeled it exactly after Webb. But he can get it going too. So look for him to be making a lot of cuts. He gets the putter going. He will compete to win. And he's my guy in that 51 to 100 official world golf rankings that will climb the charts, much like Daniel Berger did in this situation last year.
I feel like we need to have Cody make a sounder for every time Will Zalatores is mentioned on this show. Every time you pick him in something, we're going to hit a sounder for Will Zalatores. Willie Z.
There you go.
So, all right. My pick is a guy that 2 years ago at 45 to 1, I put a little taste on at the Houston Open, and he cashed that ticket for me. And I'm talking about the 63rd ranked player in the world, Lotto Griffin. How about a win, 4 top 10s? He played in all 3 FedEx Cup events in this calendar year, including his first trip to the Tour Championship. How about just last week? Tie for second at the QBE shootout. So a lot of players.
No, you can't.
What?
You
Yes,
can't,
I can.
You can't do that.
100%. I'm talking to you about the state.
QBE.
I almost couldn't even say the letters in a row.
I'm gonna make so much money this year.
The state of his game is my point. The state of his game. By the way, he finished T18 at the Tour Championship. So that tells me all I need to know. So keep your eye on, and I guarantee you I'm going to be picking Lanto Griffin in a lot of head-up matchups because Vegas just doesn't know yet. And they don't put the odds correct on this guy.
You know why? Because they don't pay any attention or put any stock into the QBE shootout.
Maybe the first time in the history of preview shows that the QBE shootout was brought up as a talking point.
Man,
for my pick.
Hopefully our bosses don't listen to that. That 40 weeks will be reduced.
How about 4 minutes? All right, our next one from 101 to 150. Give me a player that you're going to keep your eye on this season.
Well, this is where like Harris English was last year. He was in this range, and then all of a sudden Harris English just went on a tear. And I think he's ranked 25th somewhere in there now in the official world golf rankings. So I'm going to go with in this, I spent a lot of time looking at these names here, and I kind of just kept coming back to Wyndham Clark. And, Wyndham Clark joined PGA Tour 2019, made a coach change about mid-season last year, went to Boyd Summerhays, who's an excellent player, excellent coach. The Summerhays family, of course, just every one of them played professional golf at some point, it seems. And Boyd works with Tony Fina as well. Boyd is he knows the technical side very well, but I think he's more of that player's side, which I think what Wyndham needs. I think Wyndham got a little technical, tried to be a little too perfect. And I think I think he regressed some. And I think now you look at him and how he finished up last year. I think he's trending in the right direction here. Some really good finishes down the stretch. And you can just see a player who I think is just kind of being a little more instinctive and a little more free and just letting things happen, and rather than playing golf swing and things like that. So I think this change is going to bode very well for Wyndham Clark. He's had a couple loops now to see all the courses on the PGA Tour. I look for Wyndham to keep the momentum that he established late this last year and build upon that into 2021 and climb the world golf rankings inside the top 100.
I think that's a really important point that you make. Experience, familiarity with these courses, and also the fact that all these players, none of them lost their tour card. They got reshuffled, but now nobody had the pressure of saying, I've got to go back to the Corn Ferry if I don't play well this year. So they're all going to get to play again in 2021. I think that's a really good point that you made. Sometimes, for my pick, there are players that fans or critics like ourselves or handicappers like ourselves will look at and say nobody takes him seriously. Got a lot of game, but they just don't take him seriously. Vegas doesn't take him seriously. And for me, that's my pick. Ranked 121 in the world, Harry Higgs.
Yeah.
Great personality.
Love
Everybody loves him, right? They love Harry Higgs, but they don't take him seriously. Now, in 6 events in the fall, he had a second place finish. This guy is legit. So the PGA Tour is going to do everything they can to push this guy, push his personality, push the fact that everybody loves him. What Harry Higgs needs to do, though, if he wants to go from 121 and become a Harris English and move into the top 50 in the world, he's got to take his game, he's got to take his conditioning, and he's got to take all of that and say, how do I finish? Because Joe LaCava, Tiger's caddy, once told me, I said, what's the biggest difference between a PGA Tour player and a normal player? He said, the ability to finish.
Yeah.
And the ability to finish is not just about playing the 72 holes. It's about being in good enough shape that when you need to have a full connected swing on the 70th hole with a one-shot lead on Sunday, your body can do it. And we don't talk about that enough. And if Harry Higgs wants to get to that point, he needs to take his conditioning seriously. And then I think he's got the game and the talent to really move into the top 50 this year. I'm going to keep my eye big time on Harry Higgs.
Yeah.
All right. Our last topic as we approach our 30-minute time marker. I want one wild card statement from you. One statement that we're going to put in the time capsule and open it up next December and see how it aged. What do you got?
You know, Jim Herman, I've got a couple things I want to say to you.
Wait. You're making fun of me for saying QBE shootout, and the first thing out of your mouth is Jim Herman?
Yeah, well, you know, Jim, I know, like, you had the win at the Shell back in 2016, won Barbasol at night in 2019, and he won the Wyndham last year. He's got 3 wins. But I'm going to tell you something, Jim Herman. My boy, Tony Fina, is coming for you this year. And by the end of this year, Tony Fina and Jim Herman are going to have the same amount of career wins. Tony Fina has 1 right now, and that means he's going to win 2 this year. And he's going to catch Jim Herman with 3 career total wins by the end of the year. And one of those wins is going to happen early because he had a good West Coast swing last year. He threw Phoenix away to Webb, who you picked. That was a gift from Tony Fina. So he's going to get a win on the West Coast in January. We're going to get this thing to 2, and then Jim's going to hear the footsteps, and then here comes 3, right? So Tony Fina catches Jim Herman in career wins with a total of 3 by the end of 2021.
Boy, that's crazy. That's just crazy talk right there. Do you think that Tony Fina ever stands in front of his mirror in the morning and says, "You've got this. You can catch Jim Herman this year. Let's go get it"? No, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. There's no motivation with Jim Herman.
I'm not saying there is from his standpoint. I'm just saying that Fina is going to win 2 times this year. And we're going to put an end to this madness. My boy, Fina, he's coming.
I feel like, Travis, unfortunately, because I've given Tony Fina a lot of my attention, a lot of my energy, a lot of my love, and he never comes through.
Well, he's got maybe. Go ahead.
I love him in head-to-head matchups. I love him in head-to-head matchups.
Yeah.
But when it comes to picking him to win, I just don't know. And I hope he watches this so that he can be motivated. I don't know if he has the winner's gene. He has the cash stacking gene. He makes a lot of money. But when you start making a lot of money, you want to start winning too. Because any golfer will tell you, yeah, I have a lot of money, but what does it mean? What have I done? What's my legacy? And I just don't know if Tony Fina is that guy. But speaking of legacies, my wild card statement for this year, and a part of my reasoning for this is because of the flawed world golf ranking and how they do it. What matters into the formula. And that's why young guys can jump up so quickly, and older guys, stuff falls off, and it's like gumbo is how you figure out who is where. But here's my statement. By the end of 2021, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Matthew Wolff, all three will be inside the world top 10. All 3 inside the world top 10. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And, you know, they're all impressive players. You saw how hard it was for me to pick just 1 out of the 3, right? Like, I think they're all pretty close. You know, Morikawa's got the more established resume to this point with the PGA championship. You know, Hovland's got a couple wins, but, you know, they weren't great fields. Wolff has the 1 win and so polished in the majors last year. So wouldn't be surprised if they can take the same step this year as they did equivalent to last year. I think it'll put them right there.
All right. Well, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I think we could be in for one of the great golf seasons that we've ever had because of the older guys like Tiger and Phil and these young guns like these 3. Brother, I'm excited for this year. I really am.
I am too. And real quick.
Yeah.
So our first show, we're going to give them the real picks. Tournament champions next week in Hawaii. We got special guests too, right? We have guests coming up on this show. A special guest next week. Who is it, Coach?
Well, I reached out to my incredible Rolodex, and there's a lot of guys out there in the sports world that love gambling, that love speaking the truth, that have a big audience. We are doing next week, Clay Travis from Fox Sports Radio will be our guest, the first guest on our show next week. And could not be more excited.
Yep.
He's a polarizing figure, but he loves the art of golf and sports betting, and that's what this show ultimately is all about. I'm excited to talk to him next week.
Hey, good stuff, Coach. I can tell you've been working a little bit here over the last few weeks. I like what you brought to the table this week. I actually made a couple notes, so that was good.
All right, very good. And don't forget our other big show, because we're now part of CBS. We're part of the PGA Tour. We've got a lot of great partners that we're going to be working with over the course of this year. So I'm excited. But Sports Pub, they're our leaders. They're our sponsors. They're our guys. And we're going to grow together. And so we're excited, and we're thankful to them as we grow this golf betting space. That will do it for our preview show. For our main man, Cody Merrill, running the ones and the twos for Travis Fulton, the greatest coach in America. I'm your host, the Coach. Next week, we get it going. And remember, this is always the place where you're going to cash out with the coaches. See ya.